Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies, whether you're driving a Pinto or driving a Mercedes, stop what you're doing, stop what you're playing, take a seat down and stop with what you're saying. Because I must admit, I'm too legit to quit, too hot to handle, and too cold to hold. Oh, yeah. And welcome to another edition of Master of the Universe Horror Podcast. We are on episode number 67, and today we will be covering Ouija 2, released in 2016. Joey Cage, how's it going?
Pretty good. When I said, "Hey, Chris, you need to talk more," I didn't know you were gonna make up an intro and shit, you know, instead of talking about the fucking movie. But okay, I'm doing it. What about you, Gabe? How you doing tonight, man?
So far, so good. I am all right.
We had a kind of a fucked up past 2 weeks. Our last recording for Malignant didn't come out, so this is like episode 66 again, but it's really 67 in the eyes of the podcast community. But yeah, I didn't record right. Gabe had some problems last week. I had some problems like a month before, but my shit was all spread out over a fucking weekend, so that sucked ass. But anyway, we're here to bring y'all, like Christopher J said, Ouija 2. And you know, Chris used to bitch that, you know, he couldn't get a word in edgewise because we talked about everything already. So I want to give Chris an opportunity, and everyone on the podcast, an opportunity to talk about the movie before we talk about the movie. But let's get Christopher J, motherfucker, to the max. Chris, Ouija 2, how did you enjoy it? What was going through your mind? If you didn't enjoy it, go on, son. Go on.
I did enjoy it. I thoroughly did, and I'm going to tell you, it's the thing of the supernatural element has the James Wan style feel to a large extent. It's got the paranormal activity feel to some extent, but you know, paranormal activity. Then again, they try to present themselves as real. James Wan's more like, you know it's fiction, but you get into it anyway. So it had that feel, but much better story composition, much better way of, you know, following things, much easier to follow. This is a movie. I had to get that part in. I'm a critical analysis on literary.
I wish Mark was here to listen to that one so he can say something about it. But go ahead.
Okay, so released on Tuesday, October 18, 2016. Budget of approximately $10 million. 700% return. I don't think that's too bad. You know, made $81 million at the box office. Directed by Mike Flanagan. Story by Mike Flanagan and Jeff Howard. Characters by Julia Snowden and Styles White. I wonder if she's related to Edward Snowden. Anyway, first off, I gotta say, I love that because it's a vintage period of time that it takes place in. They also use the vintage, you know, film characteristics, like that movie frame when it opens up. It's that 30s, 40s, 50s like title frame. Mm-hmm. You know, it just because this takes place. Yeah, it takes place in 1967, so they got that. 1967 Los Angeles. So here we got the story of the single mother and widow, Alice Zander, who, you know, you're going to laugh, but I thought that was Tina Fey, and my wife had to tell me that wasn't. So, playing Alice Zander, the widow of the deceased Roger Zander. Now, so she's a single mom trying to get by.
Now, Chris, I don't need you to take Gabe's job on telling the story. Just, you know, hey, what?
I'm setting it up.
He's doing a good job. He's doing a good job. Just let him run with it. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
Thank you, G-Money. So it's a single mom trying to get by. I guess there wasn't a lot of life insurance money left over. She's trying to pay the mortgage and buy groceries and electricity.
House on what?
What's that?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
What happened?
Hey, is everyone there?
Yo.
Okay, cool. So she's trying to pay this mortgage and the electricity and the groceries and all the other clothes and bullshit on what she can make, pretending to be a medium. It's kind of that Whoopi Goldberg in the movie Ghost. What was her character? Oda Mae Brown, fooling people into thinking they were talking to their deceased relatives that they just had to talk to and needed to ask them something. But, you know, she's doing it from the standpoint of making people feel good. And she's not charging that much. I mean, she's asking $5 for these readings and shit. But she's got this cynical, skeptical teenage daughter who thinks it's all bullshit and thinks they're lying to people and fucks up one of their readings, and then she has to give the guy a refund, basically, this poor old man. And might I say, this poor old man I thought was the best actor in the whole movie.
Because he was selling for the ghost or what?
No, because he was selling for what he thought was his his deceased wife, and then the daughter-in-law was, this is all bullshit. Trying to get him to spend money on something.
Since you're gonna talk the way I've been wanting you to talk for the whole time, I guess we'll just let everyone jump in. But Gabe, so Gabe, well, of course we're gonna circle back to that intro, but I know. What was your overall thoughts? Because I thought Chris was going to give me his overall thoughts, but he just kicked right into the fucking movie just before we...
I'm sorry. That's kind of what I wrote down, so...
I know. I was like, Chris has a script in front of him. He's like, yeah, and then, but go ahead, dude.
No, this movie was too slow for me. I had trouble paying attention to it. I couldn't just watch this one knowing that this was a sequel. And my understanding, like from what y'all told me, was like, oh, this has nothing to do with the other one. Just kind of jump into it. That they're all right. I still had to watch the first one. I kind of wanted to get a good feel. The first one was so boring. I was like really wanting to fall asleep on that one. And so then I jumped into part 2. I was like, fine, I muscled through part 1. Let's go to part 2. Let's see what happens. And and then part 2 was a little bit better. I mean, there were some little moments here and there that I really liked, but overall, I mean,
it takes a while, right? Like you had said that, and I was like, I couldn't figure out what I didn't like as much the second time around that I did the first time, but it takes a while for it to get to the good stuff, like towards the end. And I guess that's how you felt, right? That it wasn't like fast enough right away. It took a while to get to where it needed to go, or whatever. Or just
I mean, just like the way Chris was explaining, about this whole paranormal thing that this lady's trying to use her powers of a medium to give comfort, but it's just like a phony scam. That they didn't call it a scam. They changed it and called it. They were giving families and people comfort. Giving them closure. Because they lost
workers like Chris, right there. We're not scamming. We're giving comfort. And he's like winking.
Yeah, really. And I felt like they were winking throughout the whole damn movie because I was like, oh, man, this whole movie's a wink. I was like, really? But, no, it just, man, I don't know, man. It just, I was expecting, like, okay, I'm going to expect some cheesy horror, some paranormal ghosts coming out, but it just wasn't, like, I don't know. It like you said, it was kind of slow. There were some cool things about it that I was looking at here and there, like, the way Chris was saying, like, there's a lot of the cars that have, like, that vintage look, or even, like, some of the background. This looks like it's all 1950s, 1940s, but I didn't catch them actually saying what the year was. But it was still interesting to
the film. I don't mean to cut you off. The film, and I think it even says at the beginning, but maybe I'm misremembering, but I know for a fact it takes place in 1967 is the year, and like I looked at, like when they're inside the house, like that's 1967 furniture in that house, and I remember like my grandparents. When I go to my grandma's house, her house was right out of like 1968, like fucking all the furniture, the way it was set up, everything, the way the house was constructed, the interior, everything, and that house had that feel, and the cars had that feel. And the clothes and everything. And am I the only one that thought when Paulina went over that party with her friends, fucking Mikey was dressed up like Captain Kirk?
Yeah. No. What was it like? They were playing what was it? They were trying to play with the Ouija board.
That's where everything kind of happened. I was like, I had forgotten it because I rewatched it. And I was like, well, how does this whole Ouija thing? Because it starts off with them on the table just doing a bunch of gimmicks. I'm like, I thought the Ouija was there then or whatever. But like, no, it's does a friend bring it or some bullshit, and or did they have it in the house already and they decide to use it?
Yeah, they came to visit, and then it was already in the house because they said the parents would play it when they're drunk.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah, and so given that this is 1967, these teenagers they don't know what to do with themselves. I was like, what kind of teenagers are these? At least do some drugs or do something, liven it up.
Well, no, they were fucking drink. Remember the mom got there. And
they got there when they were just barely drinking. And I was like, man, this is a lame-ass party. Like, no one's even taking off their clothes or anything. What the hell kind of party is this?
That Gabe doesn't take a drink until he takes off his shirt. He's like, all right, the party can start now.
I mean, it's really fun, like, when my pants come off, too. So I'm like, Jesus.
That's after the first drink. I was laughing at the one chick, one of the girls that's at the party, and she's like, "Oh my god, Oh my god! For everything, I was like, that's like Chris. If we ever actually used the Ouija board, he would never have a part of it. But if he did, he'd be, oh my god, the whole time. And I was like, I thought it was fucking pretty funny.
I don't want to be within 100 feet of those fucking boards. Fuck that.
Speaking of like the intro part, so it's like y'all's first time watching it. Were like y'all, because it wasn't like the same for me when I first watched it because I knew it was a work, but. Did y'all think it was a work in the beginning, or were y'all like, "Oh shit's already happening," or what was going on with that whole paranormal?
No, I was skeptical because like I was like, okay, come on. Whenever you have a movie where like one of the characters is a medium, you're wondering, is this going to be another ghost where it's like a scammer like fooling people, and how is the scam going on? How are they fooling? And they had such a fucking elaborate setup too with that fucking mechanical bull ride table and all that shit.
The mechanical bull ride table. What the fuck?
Money,
you go. I don't want to take up all your talking now. You go.
No, no. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, and that total intro in there, like, they're trying to give they're trying to give this elderly man and his daughter some comfort, but the daughter is like skeptical. So leave it to the the elderly man. He wants to communicate, with his wife. So yeah, it's kind of cheesy in the beginning because they're just like any seance, there's some kind of gimmick behind it, the flashing lights or, the shaking of the table. I mean, is it really real or is it something rigged? And I get what you mean about a mechanical bull because, there has to be like some kind of mechanism that's making things shake and move around. So, but leave it to them, by the end of that seance, the girl or the mom or who's running the show, her kids end up coming out of one comes out of the trunk, and while the other daughter ends up coming out from behind the curtain. She was like a dark, mysterious figure. And so anyway, they gave that family some comfort, when that whole thing ended. And I was watching and I was like, okay, so we know this is just a setup, the Ouija board at this point just barely comes out, so everyone they decide to incorporate that board into it. So I can already get the setup for the rest of the movie. So I was like, okay, things go wrong. Shit, someone gets possessed, and that's how it's going to go down. But let's just see how they do. I mean, really, that's how the shit goes down. I mean, you play with something you're not supposed to, and shit happens. I mean, that's how it goes.
When, so, like what you're saying, is like the daughter is the only one
that's
that actually...
Costco.
What?
Sorry, we had a delivery guy.
Yeah, I want to know what you got. What did you get, Chris?
Grocery delivery.
Oh, okay, I was about to attack you due to the... But,
those buffalo chickens. Man.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. But, like one of the daughters actually has like some kind of powers. So when the mom
Doris.
brings the board... Yeah, Doris brings when the mom brings the board into the house and she's like reading the rules. I thought it was a pretty cool part, and she's all like, can you hear me or something? And then like all of a sudden Doris gets possessed, and like when she's in the room with her sister, she's like, yes we can. I was like, holy shit.
That was badass because okay, so the mom's down there in the living room on the dining table by herself. Can you hear me? And then she's upstairs in a completely fucking different room, not even on the same floor. And yes, I can hear you, Marcus.
Yeah, that whole kid was. I thought she did a good job. I thought it was kind of like, I understand you can't bull rush everything right away, but like even her, like you knew there was something going on with her because she goes to like a private school, or not even a private school, but it's like a
Catholic school. That's back pre 1970. Catholic school was cheap because you still had a fuck ton of clergy who were working for basically pennies, teaching the fucking kids and hitting them in the knuckles with yardsticks. But nowadays, Catholic school, they're paying real fucking laity people,
And
yeah. And I think like one of my favorite parts of this whole movie, even as like how much I didn't even like this movie, one of my favorite parts is because this little girl, like how you were explaining, they were messing with the Ouija board, and she's in a completely different room, so she gets possessed, basically showing the idea that you don't even have to be, you just need to be within a certain radius just to get possessed. And what was neat, though, my favorite part was like they were having recess. This little girl gets picked on because everyone knows in that school that her family or her mom deals with the whole seance thing, so they call her devil worshiper, or they're all picking on her and everything.
They go, Doris the Dorkest, Doris the Dorkest.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just picking on her and everything. But so later on, or at least during the middle of the movie, she ends up getting possessed. And she's at school just kind of like staring out in the distance. And you can tell she's possessed because she has like some little dark rings around her eyes. And she's all dark. Well, the damn little kids, they think they're all badass. One of them pulls out like a damn slingshot from his leg. Like he has a, like right there hanging in his sock. He has like a little wooden slingshot. So he's all like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and knock her right in the back of the head with my rock. Yeah. And they're like, oh, okay, oh, cool, man, that's cool. So right when he's pulling it back and he's going to smack her with it, she turns around and gives him like this nasty-ass look, basically using her little powers of possession.
Yeah.
And he ends up turning the damn slingshot around on his
himself.
face.
Yeah. I forgot about that part.
Yeah, they don't show it, but I mean, he starts yelling and screaming and shit. So, honestly, that was like the most memorable part out of this whole damn movie. I mean, everything else was just like, I mean, Poltergeist was cooler.
Well, I wasn't like a super huge fan of Poltergeist. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like Poltergeist 1 anyway. But this, like, oh my god, like for example, like when she's down there by herself at night and looks through the fucking the Ouija lens thing, guider thing.
Yeah.
Ah.
Oh.
I mean, she didn't even have to look through. Like, if you're just down in a room by yourself at night as a kid in those old school houses where it's like compartmentalized rooms and narrow hallways and shit, and then you see some fucking spirit. I mean, fuck.
She just sees like a black shadow, right, or something like that.
Yeah, you couldn't discern what it looked like. You just knew it was a human figure. But the thing is, like, I mean, when I was 22 in college living at my mom's, I'd wake up at 2 in the morning, go get a glass of water, and I'd look out the window and I would always say to myself, if I see a fucking witch or some person or whatever, I'm going to piss myself.
You see Mark out there waving at you.
Hi, Chris.
No, the part that got me like early on before we get to like the Polish and the kind of crazy ending shit was when she's at the fucking at the school before she gets possessed and she's like walking, and like I said, we kind of learned that she has these powers already before like the Ouija board amplifies it. It's like she's just walking through the school and she sees like a priest like across like the recess yard, and you're kind of you at least I didn't think much of it other than he looks scary as fuck. And then we see a little bit later on that like that priest died because there's like a plaque of him like somewhere like that we see, and that just kind of like made me go like, oh shit, like she's got like some fucking magic powers, like they say on what is it called, not Nacho Libre, the Jack Black one. But I thought that was badass. But and she starts getting like the priest. I don't know if y'all noticed it. That's the guy from E.T. Dude, I'm like, I don't know where I know this guy from, but he looks super familiar, And then I was like, oh, it's the little kid from E.T. and shit. So I thought he
Father Hogan.
Father Hulk Hogan, dude.
Yeah,
like the young priest.
Yeah.
He's Henry Thomas, isn't he?
Is that his name?
Well, I know him from that Haunting on Hill House on Netflix. He plays the dad. And
you're correct. That is Henry Thomas.
Yeah. And if I don't know if you ever saw that, but that's a damn good series, though. That one, and then I don't know if it's related, but they came out with a part 2, the Haunting on Blind Manor. It's all creepy and weird and shit, but then it ends up turning into a love story and all that. But it's a good watch, though.
Same director, Mike Flanagan. I've never seen those series, but I know he did work on both of those because like I had done like a little bit of research on the director. I'm like, is this guy done anything else? He did like Doctor Sleep and Gerald's Game that I think came on Netflix not too long ago. But I gotta check some of those out, dude. But
yeah, those are definitely good, man. Yeah, you should. Those are definitely good.
The part that like it started building up is when the father or the priest starts seeing all the shit that Doris is doing. Like he had asked the mom, like, did you do Doris's homework or did you see her do it or whatever? And then he starts reading out like that or he starts saying that it's in Polish and it's talking about like being tortured and then dying and then life after death. And I was like, holy shit, this is good. Like that's when it started getting really good where like he's kind of secretive and like the mom who like is the one that's like always selling people bullshit. Like the priest is trying to tell her like, hey, something's going on that's for real, and like she's not buying it. Like super, that fucking annoyed the shit out of me. I'm like, you don't notice that she's acting different? And the older daughter even tells her like, you haven't noticed how she's like acting or whatever. Like that was one thing that pissed me off. I'm like, come on, dude. Like if your daughter starts acting like a complete weirdo like that, you're not gonna notice it. But I guess when you're kind of like just blinded by, hey, good things are happening, like, because I think she gives them money or whatever. She finds money in the house and shit like that.
So remember what happens. They come home. They got the foreclosure notice on the door. Of course, Doris the Dorcas has to go to the fucking evil satanic Ouija board, ask for some help, and she thinks she's asking her dad for some money, and lo and behold,
give me about tree fitty.
She goes down to fucking tree fitty. Yeah, she goes down the fucking basement. Opens up some hidden like thing that she doesn't know was etched out. Finds this fucking Ziploc bag full of fucking thousands, I guess, and then they go and fucking pay it. So they think with this Ouija board they're really gonna amp up their business. So yeah, if you're amping up your business like that and you yourself haven't been possessed, why are you gonna say no to it?
Yeah, see, like pretty much like at this point in the movie, they realize that the little girl is she's able to actually use the Ouija board and she's actually talking to the other side. Mm-hmm. But at this point, they're all just like more infatuated. They're infatuated with the fact that she can actually do this, and they're not even really concerned about any repercussions about talking to anything on the other side. Because technically, this board just barely came out. It's a brand new game board. And then here they're messing with it. They're thinking of it as like a toy, a novelty kind of little thing. But that little girl is actually using it legitly. But they're not thinking about like, hey, that she could possibly talk to demons or she could probably talk to anything. So of course, they're just more like, yeah, this is good for business. The mom's been keeping the little girl from school, and even the priest or that preacher guy was saying, hey, he ends up asking her older sister, where's your younger sister? Where has she been? Oh, okay, well, she's been home. Oh, is she sick? I'm really sorry no, she's not sick. Well, what is she doing? Well, I guess I'll have to tell you. So then she doesn't have to go and explain the movie because we already know what's going on. So it just jumps all of a sudden to the priest or preacher visiting the house, and he's questioning, the seance thing. And then sure enough, all his questions get answered to where he realizes, like, yeah, she really is using it.
Yeah.
But she's not talking to good people on the other side. She's talking to
talking to all the Nancy Matas of the world. You better stay away from them chicks.
Oh man, that's probably who possessed her was damn Nancy Mata. I was like, for real, man, that girl gained some weight or something and turned all evil and shit. I was like, shit, damn Nancy possessing people. She knows better.
Yeah, I liked the fact that I think the best parts were all revolving around the priest. I think there's a guy that's introduced, like the boyfriend of the girl. He's just kind of there real quick. Doesn't do much in the story, but they kill his ass. That was like, I think probably like not the only death, but one of the deaths in the film that we got to see besides the mom, because they all show, like, everything happens so quickly, like it takes a lot of build up, but it's not till about an hour in to where the shit hits the fan. Everyone is kind of knowing what's going on, and there's still like a lot of film left. I didn't realize how long it was, but like the father's telling the mom like, oh, you know, like, cause they do like that reading, like you were saying, and that's not my wife and all that bullshit. And then then the boyfriend ends up coming over and he gets like fucking killed. And she's like, oh, there's some stuff in the wall. And then like when his hand's in there, like Doris's head's all like doing some crazy exorcism shit, you know. And the father's like telling the story like about that. There's like a Nazi doctor that did experiments or some shit. Do y'all recall any of the backstory?
In the concentration camp, the Marcus guy went through that. So he then, when he gets here, he decides to start doing that to people in that fucking house.
Right, and pretty much he used to work. He was like one of the scientists or whatever for the Nazi Germany, and during that time when America won during World War II, you know, a lot of the Nazis kind of fled and kind of took refuge, hidden under a disguise, like under in different parts of the world. And so this guy happened to take refuge and pose as like a model American citizen. You know, he has his own house and everything, and you know, trying to stay normal as possible without being recognized that that he's he's an enemy of the state. Well, what happens is that he continues on that experimentation stuff that he was already doing. He didn't stop. So what he was doing was kidnapping people, taking them down to the basement, and he just to make sure they don't make no noise, he's cutting out their tongues. So eventually he ends up killing them. He ends up killing himself, you know, trying to see if there was anything more beyond that he can still be in control. And sure enough, you know, him, along with every victim that he's ever messed with, they're all buried in the wall and they're all, you know, dead in the basement. And sure enough, you know, they're messing with that Ouija board that pretty much brings them back to life. I mean, I get the concept of that story that they need like an enemy that, you know, they need an enemy for this movie, and this pretty much he's I mean, that's pretty something strong for them to say that he was already evil, and then collaborating with any demons on the other side, he only became even more evil. So yeah, it was pretty easy for him to go ahead and take possession of a innocent little girl, you know, that, you know, and they just kind of work it out from there. It was pretty neat, though. I mean, how they were trying to battle Marcus, or that Germany, you know, revolutionary experimentation scientist, you know, down in the basement. He ends up possessing the priest or the preacher. They take the battle down into the basement and they really go at it. And that whole little action scene was all right. I mean, it kind of picked things up for me. So, I mean, really, this movie is really I kind of feel, because the lack of blood and lack of, like, terror in it, it's just more of the supernatural. This is more for, like, 13 to, you know, 16-year-old kids. You know, and knowing them, if you show them this movie, if they're curious, they might actually want to go ahead and buy a Ouija board and start messing around with it. I mean, depending on it. For real, I mean, have you all ever, like, wondered, like, man, I just saw this movie. I wonder how much that is true. Like, I've watched Candyman when I was younger. The whole point of Candyman was saying his damn name 5 times and he appears. Yeah, I went to the damn bathroom and I started doing that shit. And I was like, yep, nothing happened. It's just a movie. But it was fun. I enjoyed that. So, yeah, I get curious. And I mean, curiosity killed the cat, but shit, satisfaction brought him back, right? God damn it. So, no, I mean, that's pretty much what this damn movie is. It's just the battle scene, though, down there in the basement was pretty intense. It was pretty good. But, I mean, I think with the lack of blood and lack of, you know, death in there is a death scene. There is a young man that's trying to date the older sister, and he ends up getting killed. But you mostly see, like, the figure of him, the silhouette. Yeah. Because, I mean, it's just the way the lighting is. I mean, they didn't do it wasn't too gruesome. So, like I said, this movie, I felt like it was more for younger teenagers to go ahead and watch, unless they're, you know, it'd be nice and spooky for them if you're very sensitive about them seeing anything real violent. But, I don't know. That's my say on it.
No, I really enjoyed the movie. I like that style. I think some of the acting was pretty bad. I'm like one of those people that I know Gabe's the guy that'll go say Candyman and shit like that, but I'm like one of those guys that's very like, I don't know about fucking with no Ouija board, dude. You know, just in case, you know, I'm like, just in case. But well, the endings, you know, we don't want to get too much fucking, you know, scene by scene detail, but the mom dies, and I did really enjoy the ending after that because they blame it on the older daughter. She ends up going to like a what is it, a
state hospital, psychiatric.
Yeah, and she's like, it's so cool because like it's one of the few movies where it ends like horror movies that ends like on a somber note, and you're like, man, I feel bad for her, like her whole family's gone or missing and dead or whatever, and she's there and she's in the room and the doctor passes by the room and like you see two people in there and one's Doris, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. And he looks in there, and he's walking back, and Doris is like, the older sister is by the door, like you know, really quick.
Paulina,
and as soon as like we get like the back view from the doctor as he's looking in there, we see Doris like upside down with the eyes all white. And I was like, oh, I love that shit, dude. That is so fucking creepy.
I did too. I popped for that dude. Like that's the thing. Like once I see that Paulina is getting blamed for the death of the mom, she's in the state psychiatric hospital. She's having to tear up the flooring, the carpet from the cell they've given her so she can prick her finger into a makeshift Ouija board with her glasses lens. Like she's that fucking like that's not a fans go home happy white meat baby face ending.
That is not. That is not.
No, it's not. And then the thing is, and then the doctor goes to look at her, sees two girls in that fucking window, not just one. Then fucking right behind her is walking on the ceiling, you know, possessed Doris. Or then again, you know, maybe she was just listening to that Lionel Richie song, Dancing on the Ceiling, you know?
I had a lot of fun with this one, but let's go ahead and before we get to some news and we close it out, Gabe, what's your ranking on this one, and just overall thoughts if you have any additional besides what you said already for the trick or treaters on Master of the Universe?
Woo! Well, overall, I'm going to give this movie, for my taste, I like things a little harsh, a little jumpy, or at least something weird and strange, like something completely...
Like Chris, right?
Just just something off the rails like Chris, you know. But I'm looking something scarier like Nancy Mata. I want to see something really freaking me out. But
I know you're not religious. You'll be sleeping with a cross. You talk about that.
Oh man, I hope it changed my views on that. But no, I'm gonna go with like at least like a good 6.5, just because this movie it's not a bad movie. It's just not part of my taste. But I know this is honestly for those trick-or-treaters, for those young kids out there that just kind of that are very sensitive about watching something too gruesome. I think this is like a good taste in movie about, you know, anything spiritual, or somebody that's religious but wants something spooky in their life to kind of reinforce that, to kind of give them that. I kind of feel like this movie it'll spook them a little bit more than someone like your average Joe like me, you know. So I feel like it's more for the younger crowd. It's not my taste. I'll give it a 6.
Christopher J, motherfucker.
8.5, and I'm going to say that, you know, I think Gabe G-Money phrased it perfectly in a way like I wouldn't have thought to phrase it this way, but he pretty much hit the nail on the head, man. It's like you said, if you have like a religious person who's looking for a spook or looking for a movie that the narrative of the movie presents the religious side as the side of good and the Catholicism as right. And I popped, I'll tell you something, we didn't hit on this, but I got to say, I popped for the fact that Father Hogan, brother, called out the demons for what they were. Like, they think they're talking to their dead dad. They think they're talking to all these dead spirits, all these people they're helping. But no. It's like, he called it out. He said, the reason they're answering these questions you ask them is because you're thinking about it and they're reading your thoughts. So, of course they have the answers. And they didn't have the answer when I blanked out my mind and didn't think it. That's the thing. Now, what he did was he used a tactic, and this is why I keep talking about Village of the Damned 1960. He used a tactic that they used in that movie, in the story of that movie anyway. I won't spoil it, I won't ruin it, I won't give too much away, but he did something that he answers in there that he explains right out of that, and I popped for it, and I loved it as a Catholic, as an anti-divinationist, as, someone who wants a good scare but also wants to root for the white meat baby face, so to speak, this was my movie, and it has the James Wan style paranormal, but it doesn't have the ridiculous multiple elements, multiple things going on, way too deep into the nether regions and all this stuff. It was just an easy story to follow. It sets itself up within the first half hour, and then you just go from there.
Yeah, dude. I have to agree. I'm gonna go give it an 8.5. I just think I agree with Gabe when it's like I know Gabe's like when he told me he liked Halloween 2, I was like, oh, he likes that brutal. He likes the because that one as a kid I didn't like it just because I didn't like the stabbing of the eyes and all kinds of shit. Like I wasn't into that. I mean, I enjoy it, but like it's not something that I'm like, oh, it's like that's one of my go-tos. Like I like I like the Jason brutalness, but it seems like some of the Michael stuff, I don't know, it just depends, I guess, on the film. But this one, there's not a lot that goes on, but I love like y'all both were saying that I'm the kind of guy that gets spooked with paranormal stuff. I believe in stuff like don't be fucking with the Ouija board and all that bullshit. And what's her name? If you watched all the way past the credits, and the only reason I knew is because I had watched a review after it, that Elise from fucking Insidious comes out. I forgot her name. The famous ass actress that comes out on Freddy and all the other stuff. The old lady. What's her fucking name?
I can't remember her name. Elise.
Lynn Shay. I always remember Bob Shay. I was like, it's a Shay. So Lynn Shay comes out because she comes out with, she's supposed to be like the girl from part 1 or whatever. But yeah, I really enjoyed this film. It takes a while for it to really get good. Like it's not something that I would watch a lot, like some of the stuff I really like. But when I'm in the mood for a paranormal thing, like I love Insidious, but I just like the first 30-40 minutes of Insidious, and then it kind of that's not true, the first hour, but I don't like the whole ending part because it just seems like they just throw gimmicks at you. This one, I really love the ending, don't like the beginning so much. I like as soon as Doris is getting possessed on, forward, and it's like, if you can take that idea from Insidious or The Conjuring, because I didn't like The Conjuring's ending either, if you take those kinds of, good, 3/4 and then add the kind of ending that these guys had, I think you'd have like an awesome paranormal movie. But that's my thoughts on it. So if you're into paranormal, you'll like it. If not, you probably give it a 6.5 like OG dog. But dude, I know there was a lot of news in here during this week, so you want to fill in the horror community? Not the horror community, the horror community.
Sounds like, well, I can't tell you what's going on in the streets with the ladies. But, I'll go ahead and let you know what's going on in the horror community. I only got to keep it short. I only got 2 little things going on. Since the new Resident Evil movie is coming out, which is basically it's the beginning. It's not like the other Resident Evil movies. This one's going to be. It's going to be like a revamp of the original, like what we know is from the video games, the comics, the books. So they're coming out with that movie coming out in I believe in November, I think, right? Well, anyways, they're coming out since they already have the video games, they got the books, they got all this stuff. Now in the first quarter of 2022, they will have a card game by Gen X. If you're familiar with any of the card games, I'm talking about, Yu-Gi-Oh! You're talking about Magic the Gathering, Pokemon. Okay, now Resident Evil will have its own game. So that's going to be something to look forward to. If you're all into card games, you love all that nerdy shit, well, there you go. It's coming out. Keep an eye out for that. That'll be fun. It could be the next big thing. About 2 weeks ago, I was interesting to read, and I was letting you guys know, that Friday the 13th, Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller have been in a big legal battle. If you all have not been keeping up with that, there's been a big legal battle between these guys over the rights of who owns Jason, who owns Friday the 13th. Well, Sean Cunningham was the original director for that Friday the 13th Part 1, and Victor Miller is basically, he was a work-for-hire screenwriter for this movie. So the idea was that, hey, we're going to hire you, go ahead and write us a story so we can go ahead and produce it, and we'll get it going. Fine, he did. They came out with the idea that Jason Voorhees' mom is the killer because they killed her son, and we know the original story. So, pretty much, so now he's like, now it's kind of blown up. Everything has kind of come to a halt. We haven't seen no new movies. We haven't really seen much other than 2009 Jason, Friday the 13th, and we saw we have a Friday the 13th video game where you can play online. Now, the problem is that they're fighting for the rights because one saying, I never wanted Victor Miller saying, I never wanted Jason to be like that. He wasn't even supposed to be alive. It was just supposed to be the mom. And here you got Sean Cunningham's like, hey, man, we got a great thing here. We got a great product. We can blow it up. We can make multiple movies. We can make multiple action figures. Let's do this. No. And they did. Well, up to a certain point. Now they're in a legal battle trying to fight for the rights. Well, guess what? They came to a conclusion on that. And if you saw this, and go ahead and feel free to look it up. Pretty interesting stuff. Now, the thing is, the idea, if you're a work-for-hire, the idea was that, hey, you have no rights to any of these characters or anything you've written because you're work-for-hire. Whatever you gave up, you're like a ghostwriter. Yep. You don't get no credit to it. Well, there happens to be a new law that they passed more recently saying, hey, if you're a work-for-hire and you came up with something big or something, you can actually fight for the rights for those characters back. And Victor Miller did, and he got those characters right. Now, here's the tricky part. He got the rights for it. But he got the rights for the mom, and he got the rights for young Jason. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means older Jason is still Sean Cunningham. He got the whole rights for for the older Jason, the whole hockey mask wearing Jason. So what does that mean for the other one? Well, shit. Well, now they haven't. They're not in the legal battle now. Now it's just kind of breaking it down for detail, what they can have and what they can't have. So what does that mean? Well, now Warner Brothers, along with some other companies, are gearing up to saying, yes, we're going to start making some more T-shirts. They're getting ready, and they're in the talks for saying, yes, let's do a Jason movie. But how are they going to do this? Well, there's two ways that they can go ahead and do this. Have a whole completely different background for Jason, which I know a lot of people will be pissed off. Oh, that's not the original beginning. It was his mom and blah, blah. I can already hear the argument. Or we'll do Spider-Man Homecoming version, which means we already know Jason's background. You know what that means? Then they'll just go ahead and just introduce the character and just go straight into the killing part. Go straight into the heroes trying to stop Jason.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, we already know the background. We don't need a whole retelling of his origins. Sure, why not? That sounds pretty damn good. So, yes, there's so many different options. There's too many different ways to go about this. But, yes, as far as the mom and young Jason, that belongs to Victor Miller now. And Friday the 13th, well, he does get the rights for that, but also Sean Cunningham does. Again, they're working out the details. How does that work out? I'm pretty sure in the next couple of months we'll start. A lot of that will get cleared up, but eventually we will get a movie, another Friday the 13th movie, or maybe just Jason, or however way they want to word it. But yes,
does he have the rights to the name Friday the 13th?
Yes. They again, they need to break down all those details because
I know it was stupid. Like when they had made the game, like there was like, oh, they can't use the characters at all, but they can use Jason and that's it. It was like, what? That's like weird. So
right, and they actually put a halt on the game, so there hasn't really been anything really new other than they're just kind of revamping like what they already had, and for the video game. But because this is clearing up, now we should expect maybe a part 2 or some extended versions of the game, or and like I said, we're going to definitely see a movie, but how we're going to see the movie or how it's going to be presented is going to be completely different. It's either going to go straight into Jason or it's going to have a whole new background, which is going to start a lot of fire with a lot of people. So there's a lot of nitpickers out there. Even just misspelling a word, which I've done several times. You go ahead and misspell a word on the damn internet, people call you out for shit. Like, we do not care.
The Chris's of the world, yeah, that would have jabbing everybody up.
Well, and the thing is, like, okay, remember when Jason Goes to Hell? Remember they couldn't have the character Tommy Jarvis because, like, I think New Line Cinema had bought the Jason shit, but then,
yeah.
But then, like, it was all it was their Friday the 13th movie, but the old studio Universal still owned the rights to the character Tommy Jarvis, so they couldn't use that, so they had to make up this new fucking bullshit wannabe Joey Styles character, and it was just total shit. It's like, are they gonna finally have that resolved?
Beats the heck out of me. As far as this, I was more infatuated about who's getting the rights and what are they doing. So Sean Cunningham has older Jason, Victor Miller has the younger Jason and Mom and any other characters in there, but they're breaking it down. And what does this mean down the future? I have no idea, but it's going to be pretty neat to. It will be interesting, but I'm just glad that
at least shit can come out now.
Yeah. Well, I want to see more stuff. I want to I just want to see more things with these classic characters. Other people are probably saying like, "Hey, I'm tired of this. I want to see some more the really older classics. I want to see some more Puppet Master. I want to see some more, some more weird, obscure old horror movies. And that's cool. I want to see a retelling of Scanners or something, or Children of the Corn or something. That's cool. But I grew up with Jason, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, and all this. So even regardless of how bad it could be, for them to come out with something new, I have to go and watch it. I want to see what they're doing. It's just going to be interesting. So even just to join in on an argument, just to see what someone's opinion is compared to someone else's. I thought it was great. Someone else is going to say, we're just going to get somebody else. Like, what's that guy? The one that was talking about
Jason?
Damn Judge Dredd being the movie of the decade or something like that. And Zack Fake Snyder. Zack.
Yeah, it was Jason. It was Jason, right? Our buddy Jason, yeah.
Oh, and then he has the name Jason. Tell him to change his name before he ruins this character's name.
I really like Judge Dredd. I mean, I don't know if it's the movie of the decade or whatever he said. I mean, I really enjoyed it. It's like one of those films to where they took like the fucking new future element and they made a fun film. I didn't think it was like remarkable, but I love that futuristic shit. Like I love the new Blade Runner. Like I like that shit, But
that's definitely cool. Even Blade Runner was badass.
But also for you, when you had said Suicide Squad was real good, I didn't even watch the original ones because I heard so much bad shit and I just couldn't stand seeing like some of the stuff that I did see. It didn't give me any interest. But I went ahead and watched Suicide Squad because I like to give shit a chance, and I'm always in for a good time. Like when you talk about Resident Evil, I like that's called Welcome to Raccoon City, by the way, folks. But I love the fact that it looks like they're going back to the video game style roots of it, like what the game actually was and looked like, as far as that style. Than the way they've been going like all over the top, like Blade kind of shit for the other ones. But I still
it looks so good though. It does. Yeah. I've been watching that trailer constantly. I love it.
There's a trailer out for it.
Yeah, there's a trailer for Raccoon City.
I haven't even seen it.
Yeah.
Oh,
that thing is so good. I was watching it and I was like, oh look, they finally brought it because Claire Redfield, Chris Redfield, they got Jill Valentine. They got all the original characters in the old Resident Evil movie series. These characters popped up, but they were more like side characters.
Yeah, there was.
In this new movie, they're actually the main characters, and I love that.
Yeah, you could. I mean, I just seen I had just searched Resident Evil movie, and I saw it. I was like, oh, it looks like they're following the game story. I like the other film. I enjoy it. I don't oh, let's watch Resident Evil, the old shit, those movies, because it's kind of like Blade, where it's kind of over the top. But I still enjoy it. I'm not one of those people that's not gonna. I mean, I don't enjoy everything, but hey, I'll still enjoy shit for hey. If this is all we got right now, fuck it. It's a whole lot of fun. I enjoy James Bond movies, all over the top kind of shit. But no, I'm looking forward to this one for sure.
Man, I played the original one. There used to be challenges back then that they would say play the original game, the original PlayStation, Resident Evil 1, beat it under 3 hours with just the combat knife and not healing. Oh, man, every single time I started drinking, I was playing that game, kind of bum rush that game. But if anybody else out there is all excited about the Resident Evil, I wonder if you all are, and put it in the comments, go ahead and say, if you all are excited about the fact that, if they're going to quote that line, that Jill was almost a Jill sandwich. Remember with Barry? I don't know if you all remember that, but Jill ended up, you take the shotgun. If you end up taking the shotgun that was on the rack, you go ahead into this room, but the door's locked and the ceiling was coming down. It was a trap and it was going to crush her. But all of a sudden, if you stay in there close to the door enough, all of a sudden Barry, who your partner was, he would come in and he would bust down the door and he would get you out just right before you got squished. And he's like, wow, you were almost a Jibble sandwich. And it was so cheesy, but it was such a memorable line. So, of course, you'll see pictures online of Jill in a sub sandwich or something like that. It's so stupid, but I kind of hope, since they're going back with the original and they're trying to make this more like the game, I hope that's in there. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. It's just something stupid for me, but I'm loving it.
That's awesome, though, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It comes out next month, Chris, on the 24th, so we'll probably do a review of that one right at the tail end of that one. But yeah, it's gonna be a shit ton of fun. We and the guys, I'm gonna try and post this on Saturdays now with our new schedule. So the new schedule will be every Saturday. We do the recordings on Thursday, but they'll be posted on Saturday. So by the time, if y'all listen to this before, then we and the guys are gonna go see Halloween Kills in fucking theater. It's my second time being in the theater in fucking forever. I went to go see No Time to Die last week, so we're all looking forward to that. All the bros and broettes are going to be there. We're going to have some drinks, some popcorn, and everyone's going to trash Chris. Right, Chris?
Yes.
All right, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you on the next one.
Man, you got to be shitting me. That mother's strong. Peace.
I'll check you on the flip side.